And
Hello, my name is Oliver Blanchard, and today my lecture will be on historical sites of Bottesford, the tales, legends, and hauntings behind them. Next slide, please. Four sites I will be talking about are Temple's Back, St. John's Well, Bottesford Beck, and St. Peter's Church. And that is the full name of St. Peter's, but we normally call it down to St. Peter's Church. Next slide, please. The four sites are linked to the Knights Templar. Who were the Knights Templar? Knights Templar was a Catholic military order, mostly known for their role during the Crusades. The Knights Templar was founded in the 12th century, and the order was ultimately disbanded in the 14th century. Bottesford had claims to be linked to the Knights Templar. Where it believed that where Bottesford Manor used to be the Knights Templar's photography. It's believed that it used to be the gatehouse, but little evidence of the Knights Templar having it on site. However, a team in 1983 excavated Temple Fields, but little was found, so we filled it back in. The only artifact is an ancient gravestone, which is in St. Peter's Church today. Templar Back. Templar Back is a spring in a field behind Bottesford Manor. The spring is dated back to the Roman Saxon times, mostly likely as a water supply for the village. It also, according to legend, had healing properties. The stone structure was built or rebuilt during the 1880s by Mabel Peacock, who lived in Bottesford Manor. The fields surrounding it were sold in the 1980s for development, and today Templar Back is in the middle of a housing estate. The spring is no longer active and is affected by the weather. In dry seasons, it's firstly dry, and you can still see bits of the archway leading to Templar Back. While in winter and rainy times, the whole Templar field is full of. Edward Peacock, who I mentioned lived in Bottesford Manor, was a typical Victorian, and it's believed that he bathed in it every morning. Also, his work is also in the North Lincolnshire Museum archives. The photo you see here is from 1935, which is also in the North Lincolnshire Museum archives. The photo shows steps leading down to an arched doorway. The information sign on the site tells us that the steps lead to a small rectangular structure built out of stone. St. John's Well. St. John's Well is a Victorian well house built above a medieval well. The well was on the site of Bottesford Manor during the 17th century, but when the well house was built in the 19th century, it moved outside from the land to the street leading to St. Peter's Church. On the 7th of March 1985, the well became a Grade II listed building. However, the entrance is now gated off and is being overrun by bushes, vegetation, and trees. St. John's Well tale. Near St. John's Well used to live a lady called Alice. Children used to call her Mad Alice. And it's also believed that she might have been a witch. Alice used to own land, which was an orchard. When she died, the part of the orchard was given to the church. The tale says that she used to drown kids in the well. However, there is no evidence of this ever happening. Bottesford Beck. Bottesford Beck is a small stream that runs near St. Peter's Church. In 2011, a community group was established called Friends of the Bottesford Beck. It was set up due to growing concerns due to pollution and erosions of the soil. And the group has now had great success with the main concerns. In 2019, a cafe and visitor centre opened on near Mexican Road along the banks of Bottesford Beck and serves great cakes, teas, and coffees. If you ever get a chance, go to it because they are lovely. Slide, please. The Beck is also part of two walks, Bottesford Beck Linear Walk and the Ironstone Walk. The Bottesford Beck Linear Walk is a 2-mile long walk from Mexican Road to Ashley Bill and has an opportunity to see St. Peter's Church. The Ironstone Walk is a 10-mile circle walk opened in 2018. Some of the areas include Central Park, Greenacre Park, Bottesford Beck and Ashley Bill. With one person saying in the Telegraph, the best showcase of green parks and our industrial heritage coming together. Bottesford Beck also has a haunting story. On the Beck is a small steel footbridge called St. Peter's Bridge, which you can see in the photo. The bridge leads to Home Bluebell Wood and paths which lead to the Pink Pig Barn and Home Hall. The story states that 700 years ago, a servant girl was murdered on her way back to the barn. For many years onwards, cattle and animals would be afraid to go across the bridge. People who ride horses had to get off their horses and literally drag them across the bridge. Most recently, there's been reports of apparitions of the young woman. However, I have not seen it myself. St. Peter's Church. The church was built in the early part of the 13th century. Later, the tower was added in the 14th century, with more details being added during the 15th and 16th century. During the 1800s, repairs went underway, and during one of these repairs, a bell was found. The bell was a bronze bell, which was mentioned in the 1553 inventory. The bell was walled up to save it from Queen Elizabeth's commissioners. In 1965, Sir John Benjamin and John Piper described St. Peter's in a Shell Guide to Lincolnshire. It was described as one of the finest and purest early English churches in the country. On 6th of November 1967, the church became a Grade 1 listed building. St. Peter's Church is one of the many churches under the National Churches Trust. St. Peter's Church graveyard. St. Peter's Church is one of the few churches to have a graveyard. The graveyard is separated into two areas. The one older grave area and the new area is more for ashes and like that. The oldest graves in St. Peter's Church is Elizabeth Wilson, who died on the 7th of January 1727. The graveyard also has a small war memorial for people who died in the First and Second World War. The people on memory were from Bottesford, Home, and Yaddleford. The graveyard has also been listed by the Commonwealth Graves Commission. 8 has been identified, with 1 being from the First World War and the rest from the Second. Here are the names from the First World War. I give you a few seconds to read them. In 2018, to celebrate the end of the First World War, the church did a art piece for the 7 men who died, making glass structures and putting them around random places of the church. These. Around them were also information about the settlement, when they was born, where they worked, where they lived, and how they died. These are the names on the from the Second World War, which I also give you a few seconds to read as well. I think these are the names of the Commonwealth war graves, and I give you a minute to read them. Next slide. Templar Church also has a haunting stories with it as well. The local legend went on a paranormal happening at one of the graves in the church graveyard. One of the tombstones, which was surrounded by iron railing. Now the iron railing is gone, and the inscription on the grave has been wiped away due to weathering and other certain things. It's unknown who is even buried there. However, it says if you place your ear near the grave, you can hear the sound of chains. It's unknown if these chains are from the memory of the iron railing being there or coming from the grave itself. Another legend linked to another grave, but this inscription can be read. The grave is of Reverend Arthur Blanchard Chapman, who was the vicar from 1910 to 1912. The grave is located near the church tower in a small grass area, which you can see in the photo. The local legend says he jumped up bell or was pushed from the bell tower and he was buried where he landed. It's also said that you want to around the church a number of times you can see the vicar reenacting his death, but it's unknown how many times you have to one land. Numbers vary to 3, 5 to 12. But there is no evidence of this legend ever happening. This is some of the resources I got some of my information from. Next slide, please. As well as these. Was this. Next slide, please. And this. Thank you for coming and listening. Any questions?
Can I say we actually knew Alice? It wasn't my mother knew her a lot better, Alice Lyman, but she wasn't, as far as I knew, regardless of what she told us, she was she should be a brother. Yeah. That's a bit, you know, I have to disagree with all that. So now that men now, the line of the yes, Yes.
Also,
I had a question. What was it when you were doing, so you did lots of research and did as part of your volunteering on the project you've been doing here. What was it that drew you to sites around Bottesford in particular? How did you decide to sort of go down this route of looking at legends, and is there any materials that inspired you?
it was when I got about Mabel Peacock, which is also on in the exhibition right now. Mabel Peacock, who used to live in Bottesford Manor, was also into legends and locals with the Rookie.
Yes, yeah.
I remember hearing legends around tales around that area, and I was interested into exploring that and things like that. And also I learned about Edward Peacock, Mabel Peacock's father, who also has a legend behind him. Sadly, I can't seem to know if that legend is true or not. I have tried looking through his record, but I can hardly even, not because of just because of writing is very hard to decipher. Yeah, and there's words in there. But that drew me into the legends and thinking them, as well as when we normally went to walks near these locations. I know I got told these legends about them from my mom and my aunts and who used to live in the area. If anyone interested, I brought one of the places that I got my information from. If anyone? I'm not quite sure. The book is what I got for. It does mention about St. Peter's Church in it.
Okay.
It also even mentions North Lincolnshire Museum.
What have you got actually?
That is okay.
Never had anything.
Oh,
Is it the Ironstone Cottage?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, any more questions?
I am actually, our mum was born in the Manor House, in 1934, moved to live in the library in 1940, and obviously went to Bottesford School. And when she was little, she can remember, but I mean, she passed away now, but she used to tell us when we were small that she used to walk from school home down to the library house. And on one particular day, there was an elderly lady who unfortunately had passed away on this particular day. And she, Mum herself was only very little, but she looked across to the house where this lady had lived, and she actually saw an angel in the window. And to this day, we always remember her telling us that she was adamant she saw an angel. And it was a common thing in those days. They used to say that, you know, when somebody passed away, the angel was there waiting. The library house is the one that's attached to the tower house. So it's next door to the manor house. It was put into two. Yeah. And I've actually brought some photographs of and Mum wrote, I think, I brought quite a bit of information, but she wrote, when she was alive, she wrote a list of all the people that lived on down one side of Manor Road that I thought maybe the museum would like to take a copy of, so that you can identify who lived in which house. I think this is probably going back when she was quite young. But I brought other things, and you mentioned Mabel Peacock as well. And strangely enough, I don't live in Scunthorpe, I live out towards Gainsborough, but our local church magazine this month has put an information all about apple bricking and some of the Peacock information in it, which I thought was quite coincidental. Very strange, but it's, I brought a few things in, maybe we'd like to have a look at, connected to the
Thank you.
Well, actually, our grandparents moved to Bottesford in 1924, and they moved into the Bogs house, they were told. But you never had any strange happenings, but all the people in Bottesford said, oh, no, you're in Bottesford.
In the box house. Did you say a box house? What's a box house?
Well, a bogger lives in a bogger house. It's an old lady that probably suffering from Alzheimer's and used to talk to her cats. They thought she was a witch. And there were stories of bricks going to the window without smashing the glass and chairs.
And the Bogs and angels.
My mum mentions sometimes why she was always upon ours was also she used to have a cat on the lead. She remembers that. Just like it was a name given to her by the kids. Like it does, but
Any other tales or hauntings? That's really interesting. If anyone wants to share any stories, I think that'd be lovely, wouldn't it, Oliver? We'd love to hear them.
When you go to the village storage, you're gonna have to expand it. Put bits into it.
That's all slides.
probably take probably a full day to say this stuff.
Has anybody seen the ghost? I haven't been in this room, I'm in it. I'm a bit frightened.
I have had an experience with it possibly. So
That's it.
it's a long time.
I want to be scared, we haven't been scared yet.
Any last questions? Okay, so say thank you. I think one more round of applause for her. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.